This is Ashley McCusker. Ms. McCusker. Good evening.
Attention parents. I repeat, attention parents. This message is not appropriate for anyone under the age of 18. I have passed out to you the form you require parents and students to sign stating we have read and will follow the code of conduct and the school-based rules. I am asking that you be held to the same standards.
Could you speak up a little bit more?
I am asking that you be held to the same standards you place upon us and sign the form as well. I would also like to point out that you are not currently following the code of conduct. If you look at the next page I have presented to you, you will see the highlighted area states users will not use the school system network to access, write, or publish materials that depict profanity, contain sexually suggestive messages, or is sexually explicit or obscene. Now I already know the rebuttal. This is the rules for technology and online use of electronics. My question is, why is this only a rule for online? More importantly, why do you get to distribute the type of material that is against the code of conduct? This isn't the first time you have been presented with the filth that is currently in high school libraries. But the question remains, why are you allowed to present it? The next thing you will say is there is no pornographic material in the schools. My personal feeling is there is. Just because we don't have picture books doesn't mean we don't have a written form of porn. Even if we split hairs and decide it is sexually explicit, it still goes against your code of conduct for us. I cannot fathom how you can even argue with us that this sort of book should be available for minors. To the people at home, you are being lied to. You are being told we want to burn books, and it is because we are bigots. I will let you make up your own mind as to if this is sexually explicit or pornographic in nature, and why the board is currently split 4-3 on doing anything about getting them out of our high school libraries. He reached his hand down and pulled out my He quickly went to giving me head. For the first few minutes, we dry humped and grinded. I was behind him with my stomach on his back as we kissed. After a few minutes of fun and games, he got up and went to the nightstand where he pulled out a condom and some lube. He then laid down on his stomach. I knew what I had to do, even if I had never done it before. I had one point of reference, though. That was the 7+ years of watching pornography. Although the porn was heterosexual, it was enough of a reference point to get the job done. I remember the condom was blue and flavored like cotton candy. I put some lube on and got him up on his knees, and I began to slide into him from behind. I tried not to force it because I imagined it would be painful. I didn't want this moment to be painful, so I eased in slowly until I heard him moan. We went at it for about 15 minutes before I started to get that feeling. Weakness in my legs, numbness at the waist. I finally came and let out a moan, to the point where he asked me to quiet down for the neighbors. I pulled out of him and kissed him while he masturbated. Then he also came. Yeah, Earl, I'm gonna eat a Do you even know how to eat a Not really. Papa Gaines never sat you down and said, son, one day you're gonna have to eat No, but he did teach me how to eat a butthole. I would teach you some eating techniques, but it's a little complicated. That's a shame. I would need diagrams and whatnot. Well, tonight maybe you can draw some up. Son, I don't have time for that. I got like 20 over here I need to eat. Is that right? I'm gonna put This book teaches you how to do fisting the correct way and safe way. It also talks about fetishes such as cake farting, balloon fetishes, scat and golden showers, and dinner crushing. Now, to the people watching who are appalled, welcome aboard. To the people whose defense that children will be exposed to this anyway, my reply is, I know. They will more than likely also be exposed to alcohol, drugs, and sex. So should we make these things available at school as well? At what point do we all agree schools should be a safe zone for children? That despite what they might be exposed to on the outside, we protect them from it while they're in school. I have good news, though. Next Tuesday, we can change the dynamic of the current Board of Education.
You know, when I first came on the board, I guess it was about 8 years ago, when we were introducing laptops and computers to the classroom. And we had some issues with students sitting in the back of the classroom looking up inappropriate items on Facebook, and I think we had a way to censor that. I think we took there must have been some type of program that we were able to catch words, and we were able to stop that from to coming into our schools. And I think we did a great job at it, because I don't ever remember hearing much of it after that. I don't understand why we have this same issue with books. I will say, I don't care what you do in your home. I don't care what you do in public. That is your business. I don't want our kids to seeing this or hearing that. I am not for that. I don't like it. I wish there was more that we could do, or I could do. I know there's laws saying that we can't do anything. But I just have to say, I wish that we could reverse the fact that, someone could come into our library and just take the book. I wish there was a way that we could say, you can take the book if your parents gives you the right to take the book. I don't know if that ever happened. But I know that we censored those computers, and we didn't allow people to be on those, students to be on that. I just wish there would be some way that we could give some parents the choice of allowing their students to choose if they want to read those books in our libraries, that they would be held back until the parents had the approval. I don't know if we'll ever get that way, but I get it. I see your point. To the second speaker about the students, I know Dr. Savine and I have had a few conversations about discipline in the classroom and how we need to really try to take that element away from the teachers, that they can continue to teach the 99% of the students who want to be there. It's usually the 1% that disrupts the class. And I think through his leadership, I hope that we're going to see some improvements through that. I think they're working towards that goal. So I think there's hope. I'm not going to say that it's not going to happen real quick, but I think with his leadership and the team that's around him, I think he's really, he sees the issues. And I'm not looking at him because I don't want to speak for him, but for our conversations that I've had, I do believe he wants to do the right thing, and they're trying. I think the leadership is trying. I don't think they're going to make it happen, quickly overnight. And I know we wish we could, because we know that there's a problem in our society, not just in our school, but everywhere. And we all have, sympathy for our teachers and our ESPs and our custodians who have to deal with that, our secretaries, all staff that have to deal with this on a daily basis. We know we have students that we love. They want to be loved, and I think it's a lot of it. They just want attention. I'm not an expert on that, but I hear what you're saying, and I think Dr. Savine has heard that too.
Mr. Kessler. Ms. Murray. And I'd just like to remind you, colleagues, that board members' responses are to be, according to policy, 3 minutes. Thank you.
Mr. Gaspard, you're absolutely right. There was a filter put on the computers. I think there still is. I don't like these books. I wouldn't want to read these books. And I don't even know how they got in our libraries. That being said, we do have something in place. My grandson goes to Springfield Middle. If his mother doesn't want him to read a book, she can go on that website, she can go into that library website, and she can find that book. She can talk to the library media specialist. They are scanned, and she can say, I don't want my son reading XYZ. If he tries to get that book out, it is flagged. He cannot have that book. That's what we have in place right now. So we do have something in place to keep people from getting books that parents don't want them to read.
As far as the books go, quite frankly, I do think that they're absolutely disgusting. I hope that we never have to hear anyone read about this again. This is the second time we've had to hear this, and it's disgusting. I don't want to hear it. I can't imagine anyone would want their kids reading it. And quite frankly, I'm not so convinced that there are laws in place that prevent us from taking them out. I hope that we can make it easier for parents to be able to go in and ask for at least a review. And I'm not saying that we should absolutely just remove them just because someone says we should. I think we should make the review process much easier and much more streamlined, and I hope that we can make that happen.
As far as the books and so forth, I never knew a lot of kids in my 42 years who went to the school library and got a book just to read it for the fun of reading it. The only time I knew students ever got books out of the library was to either do a research project or to, it was a book for a book report and so forth. As Mrs. Murray said, there are systems in place and so forth. I would expect that books would be in the appropriate grade level. Some of the books that were read here tonight, I saw the title of one, I read that. I read about 2 or 3 of the other books and so forth. I have no problem with them being in a high school library because we send kids, they enter as 9th graders, in 4 years they leave, they go to college where they're exposed to a lot of different things. Some of them enter the armed forces where they go into combat in some cases. Sometimes they get killed. So if we're talking about these books being in an elementary library, that's one thing. Middle school, that's another thing. High school, with the limits. I know there's one book that's been mentioned. Was a book called Crank. And so I got that book on vacation in Myrtle Beach back in the summertime, and I read it. And basically, it's about a young lady who gets hooked on meth and makes a lot of bad decisions and so forth. And to me, that's a very appropriate book for high school students, at least, to deal with, because we have Washington Goes Purple and all that type of thing, and the drug issue in this country is bad. And that's a book I would recommend that parents read that with their child and discuss the book. It's written in free verse, and it's brilliantly written. But check it out.